Hi, in this video, I'll be showing you the town of Delft. I was living in Delft for 4 months during my time in the Netherlands. It has so many cool places that I'd like to show you, and what better way to show it than with footage from my bike, and obviously a voiceover that I'm doing right now. So without further ado, let's start the tour. Let's first understand where we are exactly. I was in Delft, the Netherlands. As you can see, the Netherlands is in West Europe, just west of Germany, north of Belgium, and east of the UK. Delft, specifically, is in the southwest of the Netherlands, in between the two large cities in the Netherlands, The Hague and Rotterdam. Delft is actually relatively large, as it contains a lot of the neighborhoods in this area as part of the town. However, the main part of the town is this area known as Old City, which I will be mentioning a lot later. This windmill to the right is the last remaining windmill in Delft, known as the Molen de Roos. It is currently a museum and monument. In fact, this windmill is so important to the town of Delft that they physically moved it a couple meters, just so they could build new railroad tracks underground without demolishing the windmill. There used to be many more windmills along Delft city walls, but unfortunately they were all demolished except for the Molen de Roos. Speaking of city walls, this half-demolished tower to the right, known as the Begijnen Toren, is the last remaining of its kind that used to protect the town of Delft. As mentioned before, the town of Delft is split into two sections, Old City and New City. The street I'm on right now is actually one of the borders between Old City and New City. The left side is Old City and the right side is New City. Old City is the part of the town that was surrounded by city walls before they were demolished. Because of that, currently most of the traditional buildings that I will show later are within Old City. New City used to be mostly farmland before people came in and built modern buildings on it, such as apartments and offices. Because of this, you will find most new buildings, such as the Delft train station, in New City. In fact, you can still clearly see the shape of the former city walls. This building to the right is the Old Church. The Old Church was originally founded in 1246 and was built over the next few decades. Construction of the church technically spans 2 centuries because some parts were added afterwards. The church has gone through multiple renovations after being affected by religious and physical disasters such as the Protestant iconoclasm, a movement where people with Protestant Christian beliefs took to Catholic churches and destroyed the altars and other Catholic figures within the church, and the Great Fire 1536, which wiped many buildings within the town. The most notable feature is the church tower, which leans about 2 meters from a perfect vertical. Many attempts have been made to make it straight or to make it look straight, such as making the top half perfectly vertical, but none have been successful. Unfortunately, I was not able to get footage of one of the most important buildings in Delft, Prinsenhof. Prinsenhof was the home to William of Orange during the Dutch revolt against Spain, which is the equivalent of the American Revolution for the Netherlands. William of Orange is considered the father of the fatherland, same as the founding fathers of America. His royal palace in Breda, a town in southern Netherlands, had been taken over by the Spanish, so he temporarily set headquarters in a monastery, which transformed into his home. It was from here he wrote his famous quote-unquote apology in 1581, though it was more of a personal justification for his actions and a verbal attack on the Spanish king. Because William of Orange was a governor under Spanish rule, he was effectively betraying his lord when he openly supported the opposition movement in the Netherlands. The Spanish king, Philip II, was infuriated, and he placed a large bounty on William's head. Because of the bounty placed on his head, William of Orange was assassinated by Balthazar Geralt on June 10, 1584 inside Prinsenhof. In fact, there are 2 holes in the walls of the museum, thought to be the bullet holes from William of Orange's assassination. Unfortunately, he would never live to see his dream of a free Netherlands. However, his sons carried his thoughts on, and they managed to unite the Netherlands as a whole in their lives. There are, of course, many notable people from Delft. However, the 2 people who stood out most to me were the artist Johannes Vermeer and the inventor and scientist Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Johannes Vermeer is one of the most famous artists of his time, with his painting, The Girl in the Pearl Earring, being an all-time favorite. The painting is currently on display as the main exhibition at the Maurits House, a famous art museum in The Hague. Here are some of his other famous paintings, and these ones actually depict Delft. Antony van Leeuwenhoek was a microbiologist, and is even now called the father of microbiology. A large reason for his success was his monopoly on microscopes, a first at the time. Leeuwenhoek had invented a new type of microscope that was much more effective than what was available at the time. However, he kept the secrets of the improved version to himself, which likely delayed much progress in the microbiology field. Okay, so pause there. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get straight into it. This is the market square, where, surprise, a market is held on a weekly basis. However impressively large the market square is, it is overshadowed by the buildings surrounding it. First is the new church. In contrast to the old church, the new church has been hit by many disasters. First, after its initial completion, a part of the tower fell down after a lightning strike, which then caused the aforementioned Great Fire of 1536. The portion of the tower that had fallen was built in expensive, white, fancy stone that Delft was easily able to afford at the time. Then, still in line with the old church's story, the new church was overtaken by the Reformed Protestant church during the Protestant iconoclasm. After that, it was damaged by what is now known as the Delft thunderclap. On October 12, 1654, about 90,000 pounds of gunpowder exploded in Delft's gunpowder depot. The force of the explosion flattened and destroyed many houses. It also blew out the stained glass windows and collapsed multiple roofs of the new church. Most recently, in 1872, a lightning bolt struck the top of the tower, which destroyed the top spire. The spire was quickly rebuilt, but was built in cheap sandstone because Delft had by then passed its economic peak. However, what no one foresaw was that this cheap stone would chemically react with the rain and turn black in the process. This gave the new church the red, white, and black color scheme. The new church, and consequently Delft, also has a very strong connection with the Dutch royal family. As mentioned before, William of Orange was assassinated in Delft. The House of Orange-Nassau was usually buried in the also aforementioned town of Breda, but because of the war, William was buried in the new church. His descendants would become the Dutch monarchy, and ever since then, most of the Orange-Nassau monarchs have been buried here, with the most recent being Prince Bernhard in 2004. In addition to the church's connection to the royal family, one of the most influential science experiments was conducted at the new church. To prove Aristotle's theory wrong, that objects of different masses will fall at different speeds, mathematician and physicist Simon Stevin and Jan Cornets de Groot dropped 2 lead balls, one of them 10 times the mass of the other, from the balcony of the new church. The experiment was a success, as the 2 lead balls hit the ground at the same time, proving Aristotle's theory wrong. Now moving away from the new church, on the other side of the market square is the town hall. The town hall is a beautiful building built with Renaissance-style architecture. It is a true show of Delft's former wealth and dominance, with hints of gold everywhere, as well as a statue of the Roman goddess symbolizing justice. The former city prison was also under the town hall, where in fact Balthazar Geralt, the assassinator of William of Orange, was kept before execution. However, most of the administrative functions have been moved to the office in the Delft train station. Now we will move on to something that Delft is extremely famous for. Ironically, the thing that Delft is most famous for is technically not even originally from Delft, the Netherlands, or even Europe. Delft is most internationally famous for its pottery, known as Delft Blue or Delftware. The making of the pottery was originally popularized in Delft because of China's civil war. China's blue and white pottery had been a huge hit in the Netherlands, and after a civil war occurred, blocking all trading routes, there was no supplier for the ever-growing demand in Europe. Delft took advantage of this demand and began to make copies of Chinese porcelain, which became an instant success. To give credit to the Delft potters, they did eventually change their designs from Chinese symbols such as dragons to more Dutch designs, incorporating windmills and local sites. Eventually, when the UK went through the Industrial Revolution and began to make large amounts of porcelain in factories for much cheaper and better quality, Delft blue began to lose popularity and most potters went out of business. It went to the point where only one pottery remained out of 30 that used to crowd the town center. That pottery, known still as the De Porcelaine Fles, or the porcelain bottle, did everything they could to stay in business, changing their making process to lower the cost and inventing new things to keep the market going. De Porcelaine Fles eventually caught the attention of the royal family, who declared Delft blue as a national treasure. De Porcelaine Fles were given the title of Royal, hence the current name of the company, Royal Delft. The prefix Royal gave it an instant boost, and the company now is doing very well, far from bankruptcy. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you learned something about Delft.